This is Larry Jordan, the host of the Digital Production Buzz. The following interview is an excerpt from a recent program. To hear the entire program, visit digitalproductionbuzz.com. Andy Bellamy has worked in and around production for the last 20 years as an editor, documentarian, and sound engineer. But right now, he's the product marketing manager for the CION camera at AJA Video Systems, which is what we want to talk with him about. Hello, Andy. Welcome.
Hello there. How are you?
We are delighted to be chatting with you. How's your day going so far?
Pretty good, yeah. I am still at the office. So, yeah, pretty good.
That's typical, isn't it?
Yeah, true enough. Andy,
AJA, yeah, very much so.
Very much so.
AJA announced the CION camera a year ago at NAB and started shipping it last December, but for many of us, the camera remains an unknown. How would you describe it?
Well, CION is sort of uniquely positioned in the sense that it is an ergonomic camera. It covers the full discipline of 4K at DCI level all the way down to HD, but essentially it's a lightweight ergonomic camera that you can put straight on your shoulder or can work directly into any production environment on a tripod, on a slider, on a jib or a dolly, whatever. But it offers this tremendous flexibility within any kind of environment and records directly to high-level ProRes 444 or 422, and also offers RAW as another option as well. So a very versatile camera, but built around an ergonomic design.
So the ergonomic thing is one of the things that Nick Rashby stressed, who's the president of AJA, when they rolled the camera out in terms of how it's designed to fit comfortably on a shoulder. How would you describe its typical uses? When should we consider this camera versus all the others that are out there?
Well, at the moment, we're finding the people that are doing the most kind of shoulder mount use are anybody involved in, anybody doing small film or kind of low-budget indie productions where they're going to benefit from a looser verite kind of style, put it on your shoulder and run around with it. We've got a number of people out there using it in anger like that and getting great results from it. And it fits very, very well in that environment. It will also work beyond that in terms of higher-end commercials. Anybody that needs, if you need that flexibility to quickly go from the track, just break it down now, I'm going to run and get that shot, it's those people who are going to benefit the most from it.
So it sounds like it's designed to be more of a run-and-gun camera where we don't have that extremely short depth of field that we would see in a Canon DSLR, for instance. The depth of field is deeper, which gives us a little bit more flexibility and focus.
Absolutely right. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Given the features that the camera has, which ones are you especially proud of?
I think that overall it's got to be the combination of all of the elements that lead to that image. That image right from the get-go, right even in the early stages of development, it's never looked like video, which was totally the aim here, was to get away from a video look to produce a cinematic film-like image. And that's what we achieved. And I think that's my favorite feature. That's where everything builds together. So that's the science behind the sensor, the debayering, the algorithm that we use, and then the color science that we apply to make that image. The fact that we're always at 4K all the time, and then we scale down to produce either UHD or HD or 2K, you never lose that cinematic look. No matter whether you're really going for a video look, it will still give you, like in terms of the vibrancy of color, it's still going to give you a very nice filmic quality. That's my personal favorite.
I was just thinking, looking at the HAA website, the camera is retail priced at about $8,000. And we're looking at a Canon C300 about that same price and a Sony FS7. The FS7 has got the same kind of shoulder mount that the CION has. How would somebody decide to buy the CION, especially because it's a new camera from a new company?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Well, one of the things that we've done this week, so Tuesday this week, we announced a price drop. So actually the price has come down now. So we're just under $5,000. So we've moved the price point somewhat. That's to address the market as it stands at the moment. And I know you know very well what the market's like out there. That's to address what people want and what people's budgets and what they're prepared to pay. For us, in terms of just going back to your question, though, in terms of where do we sit, because people will still look at it against the 300 or 500 or an FS7. I think in terms of the youth of the company, we're almost 22 years young now, but this is the first camera. You're absolutely right. The camera for us, we defined the external recorder for ProRes. That was our baby. So the ePro is where it all begins. It's a very active and busy market now, but once upon a time it wasn't. And we were the pioneers in that area, working very closely with Apple over third-party ProRes encoding. So that's at the core of it. That ability to make a very, very high-quality ProRes encoding in hardware is our backbone, and we've been doing it for 10 years now, or thereabouts. So that was kind of one of the reasons why we want people to look at us, because we know that we have very, very good encoding and great experience in terms of taking anyone's image and encoding it. What we add in there as well is that we've been producing 4K-based DCI equipment for as long as the DCI, after the dust had settled on that and the hardware started to emerge, we were part of that. So if you've seen 4K projection anywhere in the world, there's a 50-50 chance, more or less, that you've seen that projected via our hardware. So 4K is part of our DNA as well at AJA. We've been working for a long time in and around 4K delivery. So I think, again, we had something that we could add into the camera. And these are all things we think are important. If you want to take a step down the road towards 4K production, we've been involved in and around that for a long time. You couple that in with a very high-quality codec and our ability to both capture an image in terms of that cinematic quality I mentioned, and then to record it flawlessly in this wrapper. I think that's why people should look at us. I think if you've used any of our products in anger over the years, you'll know us from our editorial products, you'll know us from the converters, and as I said, the KeyPro line. These are all very important cornerstones of our business, and the camera really sits on top of all of those things. Every other type of product we've done is fed into that. So it's been a considered process over 5 years to get to that point, and that's why I think people should consider us, because you know us so well for the existing quality, and then without even mentioning the legendary customer support that we offer. So those, I think, are just some of the reasons why I think we should be considered.
Well, I want to come back to this point on ProRes. I'm a big ProRes fan, but you're baking in the look when you record to ProRes as opposed to RAW, which gives you more flexibility. Why did you decide to go with ProRes as opposed to RAW images?
Well, ProRes is our internal format. So for the quickest turnaround in camera, and bearing in mind we have a number of different modes you can work with that ProRes. You can work in a disabled mode where the camera is completely disabled, and then you're then going to reset that later on. We also have an expanded one mode, again, where you're going to set the black point later on in post, which gives you a very washed out, very flat look. You can have no color correction at all applied to that, and that does give you a flat look even within the ProRes 444. And a number of customers that we've been dealing with recently have found, even on high-end shoots, that ProRes 444 container has been more than adequate for the post-production needs. However, we did want to address RAW workflow. So we have got AJ RAW, which is a Cinema DNG to the letter. We call it AJ RAW, but it's Cinema DNG. There's no denying what it is. It's an open standard. And we can generate that. Now, that's an output format. So we would use something like our partners at Convergent Design. We'd use an Odyssey 7Q Plus, or Atomos, the Shogun. You can also then record there as well, and take the Cinema DNG into there too. So 2 mobile solutions. So kind of the best of both worlds, we feel, at any rate.
We have a live chat running at the same time as the show, and Mel on the live chat's asking, is AJA considering making an electronic viewfinder for the CION camera like Blackmagic did with the Ursa? Because Mel likes elegant solutions.
Don't we all? That's a very good question. It's certainly something I think that we've paid some consideration to, and let's just say that's not the only person asking us that question at the moment. So you never know. I can't reveal anything, but certainly we get asked an awful lot. That's for sure.
When I want to shift gears just a little bit. One of the challenges you have is it's a new camera, not necessarily from a new company, but there's always bugs and things to work out in a new camera. And the other is that people that do shooting, cinematographers and filmmakers, tend to have cameras that they like. So what is HAA doing to enable filmmakers to get their hands on this camera and get a sense of whether they like it or not?
Well, at NAB, we announced the hashtag #TryCION program. So we manufactured 100 units. We worked round the clock on the run-up to NAB to put these together. So we would have 100 units. We opened up the program at the top of NAB, and this let North American users apply to our program, and then we would send them for a specific length of time needed for their shoot, a CION, and the requisite accessory. The only things we didn't add in would be an EVF, a viewfinder, sorry, or a battery. That was something that we asked you to add, and lenses. But everything else we gave you, so pack media, the Thunderbolt dock, everything else. So we felt that was a really good way for anybody who was on the fence, perhaps not able to get in touch with a demo unit at a dealer locally, they could apply direct. So that was hugely successful. So we were absolutely slammed. By the end of the first day, we were more than 4 times oversubscribed. By the end of the week, we were well and truly oversubscribed. So that's worth. It was incredible. I mean, you do this, you think we're going to test the water here, and we'll see what happens. We were slammed. So it's been a wild ride here over managing that program, and we're keeping it rolling. So we're recycling some of the units, some things are coming back, and we're going to pick up more people where we can. In order to expand that a little, that's now going global. So the Japanese program is emerging over the coming weeks, and so is the European program as well. We've also been running a Tri-CION World Tour as well. So we kicked that off in San Francisco. It's been moving through North America. We are in Dallas and Miami. I'm doing the second next week. Anybody, any of your listeners can also go to our website and see the Tri-CION dates there, and you can subscribe to sign up for these events. You can get hands on there. You can meet John Thorne or myself. John, obviously, as you know, is the product manager for the camera. So get hands-on with some of the guys and the camera itself. That's in Dallas and Miami. From there, obviously, we're moving to Cine Gear. And after that, I head off to Europe to the European dates. And then John goes off to Japan, Korea, and China. So the tour continues. Yeah, we're doing everything we can, literally, apart from knocking on everyone's door, to put it in their hands.
Well, one of the other things that you've done is present this summer of savings, where you've dropped the price of the camera almost $4,000. Tell me about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this is really in response to careful consideration over the market, looking at where things are going and making sure we want to be in a position where we want to get the camera into people's hands. If I'm honest with you, Larry, I think it's a heck of a camera at $9,000. I think at just under $5,000, it's an amazing deal. I think there's an awful lot for your money there. There's a lot of bang for your buck, so to speak. It was important to us to keep the project true to what our aims were, which is what I said at the beginning, create something cinematic. And I think that's what we've got. That $5,000 price point just means, you know what it's like out there, only too well. Budgets are getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and we're trying to respond to that. So I think in terms of our commitment to our customer base and the prospective customer base, it's removing another obstacle to adopting CION for your next production or rental or your in-house purposes.
If we want to just buy the camera, that's what the price drop reflects, right? Or do we have to buy a package, say with the Key Pro or anything like that?
No. As the camera on its own, we've adjusted the price on the Key Pro line. I think that was something that we also wanted to do, and it was always going to be a timing that we thought, it just sounds nice, doesn't it? Summer of savings. Everybody likes to save. So I think we would roll these things together. So the Key Pro line, because again, that's the foundation, the larger Key Pro standalone unit, the disc plus one that you can then add your own disc to. These things are workhorses around the world. We know that they're everywhere, and we're giving the opportunity to anyone that's got the infrastructure that's already got them, they can add some more, refresh any ones where they need to add more disc or whatever. So we felt this was a good program, but you're not tied in to doing anything else other than if you just want the camera, that's no problem. You can have the camera. Everything else remains the same. No features have been removed. Everything remains exactly as before, even in terms of the warranty as well.
Now, something you mentioned earlier that I want to talk about for just a second. You said that the camera is now, I think it's $49.95, which is an incredible price. But what else do we need to be able to use the camera? What other accessories do we have to buy?
Pack media is definitely a necessity. I think unless you're going entirely only using that camera as an imaging unit and you're not needing any media, pack media is essential. So pack media comes in 256 and 512 gig sizes, which will give you up to roughly around 45 minutes at 4K at 444 for the largest size. Those are essential. The pack dock is also, I think, an essential purchase. That gives you Thunderbolt or USB 3. You simply slot your pack media in there and get lightning-fast transfers of all of your footage. I personally would also recommend the front base plate. That's our own engineered accessories, and there's a full line of these, but the front base plate is particularly nice. It really gives you everything you need for a 15mm rod setup. You add a couple of rods, if you've got them yourselves, you're good to go anyway, as you know, so it's a global standard. That's also, I think, is a really important piece to add in. Everything else you can really suit your own kit that you may have already. I mean, adding in something like a viewfinder or a small monitor, you may already have that from another camera, in which case we fit very neatly in with that. If we don't, then yes, you would have to add a viewfinder or a mini monitor to it. We also don't obviously include glass. It's a body-only camera unit, so you would make the decision yourself over which glass you want to add. We offer great flexibility. We ship with a PL mount, but you can get from people like MTF, Wooden Camera, and a bunch of other people that have emerged, things like anything from Panavision through to Leica M, Arri Bayonet, Canon F and D, Canon EF, Active, and Nikon G and F. So it's a full array of glass you can use with the cameras. That's another decision that you would make for yourself and add that to the unit as well.
Are these price reductions permanent, or is the pricing end at a particular point in time?
The pricing is through summer. So at the end of summer, the pricing will revert. Obviously, we'll probably reserve the right to amend that as we see fit at the end of summer. Maybe we'll keep it the same. But at the time being, it's being billed as a summer of savings, so it's time limited. So we'd urge anybody who's wishing to get involved, summer is the time to do it.
When I was looking on your website and getting ready for this interview, I realized, as you mentioned, not only has the price of the camera dropped, but also the price of KeyPro has dropped. But there are multiple different versions of KeyPro. What's the principal differences between them?
Yeah, so the original is the KeyPro. This is the one that looks most like a VTR, and that's exactly what it was designed to replace. So if you look at it, it's a half rack size, 2U high, and is essentially a VTR replacement. That's the original, and that's a much larger unit than the others. So that's how we differentiate that one. It's only ProRes 422 up to HQ on that particular original unit. That one has both SSD and spinning disks up to 750 and 1 terabyte respectively, so very long record times. That's the unit. If you're working in corporate, that's going to give you great long record times. And in the edit suite, it's going to give you deck control and so on, RS-422. So that's a really neat unit, but that's the original one. After that came the KeyPro Mini. The KeyPro Mini uses CF media. So there are a number of different SanDisk and Kingston and a bunch of other people that make them, which are qualified. That's really the portable unit. So that's HDMI, it's HD SDR, and that one will fit directly on the back of any camera. If you look at it, the footprint is very much similar to something like an IDX battery or similar. So it's that kind of size. And that unit, as I say, both of those units actually do offer you 2 channels of recording, audio as well, with audio monitoring on the front. From there, those are both, as I said, the limit for those is ProRes 422 HQ. From there, and in HD, from there we offered the KeyPro Quad. KeyPro Quad is 4K, gives you more options. It will debay a RAW from a Canon C500. It will let you record ProRes 4K from a Canon C500, which you can't do without using a external unit. So it offers a whole host of extra features there. And the KeyPro Quad actually works as a brilliant standalone player for 4K. We know a ton of people around the world who use this as a player. They never put it on the back of a camera, never recorded a signal once, but they play everything out using these units as well. So that's nice. So that's essentially the difference between all of those. The KeyPro Rack, that price remains the same. That's the most recent of all the units, and that's really remained unchanged.
And
over the last, I mean, that's pretty standard.
And Andy, where can people go on the web to learn more about these products?
www.aja.com.
That's aja.com, and Andy Bellamy is the CION Product Marketing Manager for AJA Video Systems. Andy, thanks for joining us
Andy.
today.
Thank you very much indeed. I'll see you guys soon. Take care.
Bye-bye.